Jennifer All, and today's Daily Hope reading comes from Psalm chapter 9. Now, this psalm is a psalm of David in which he is just singing God's praises about how just and righteous God is. Namely, how God defends the weak and slays the enemy. The language David uses throughout this psalm is so strong, so passionate. He says, God, you have rebuked the nations and destroyed the wicked. You have blotted out their name forever and ever. Endless ruin has overtaken the enemy. I love the language David uses because he's talking about complete and utter annihilation of the enemy. That the enemy is blotted out completely. Total victory. Now, what makes this so remarkable is that David is writing these words about an experience that he has not yet had for himself. While he writes these very strong words, he is standing in the middle of battle and turmoil and opposition from his enemies. Yet he is confident in God's victory. David writes this from the vantage point of faith, and that's what gives him the confidence in God's future victory over his enemies. David goes to the character of who God is and reminds himself that God is just and righteous, that God is a refuge for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble, that the Lord never forsakes those who seek him, and he does not ignore the cry of the afflicted. And because of who God is, David knows his God is going to redeem this situation as well. Now, if David could speak this confidently in his time, how much more can we declare this in our time? You may not have an enemy banging down your door the way that David did, but we know from Ephesians 6 that our enemies are not always flesh and blood, but they are these spiritual forces of evil in this dark world, the powers and principalities of the evil one. Jesus calls this enemy the thief who comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And that thief, he loves to take the things that we've been through, the hard struggles, and afflict us and oppress us. And today you might be feeling discouraged about the state of things, the state of what this season is pulling up in you. There's depression, unforgiveness, anger, old trauma that seems to be getting re-triggered, addiction. There's all sorts of things that you might be battling right now in this moment. And I want to encourage you to stand on the vantage point of faith today, knowing that God's victory is true over the enemy of darkness that you face right now. Because we know that Jesus said in John 16:33, he says, in this life you will have trouble, but take heart, for I've overcome the world. We know what Jesus did on the cross and in the resurrection. He defeated and disarmed the enemy completely, totally. That enemy has been annihilated. And so whatever you're experiencing right now, this enemy, his days are numbered because God is victorious. Our God is the Redeemer, and he takes that whatever battle you're facing, and he takes the pain, he takes what the enemy meant for harm, and he turns it to good. So take heart and stand, because God's victory is going to have the final say, not the enemy. Jesus has overcome. The enemy has been blotted out with endless ruin. Our God is the victorious one. Hope is possible. Healing is possible. Forgiveness is possible. Freedom is possible. Take heart today, my friends, and be encouraged.